Welcome to the full dusting guide for Hearthstone by TrashcanTV 2019 for the Rise of Shadows expansion. A couple of disclaimers before we do this. It's been requested a bunch, so we're going to be doing this for all legendary cards in standard. We're going to be doing it for all epic cards in standard. We're not going to be covering rares and commons individually. We're going to give you a couple of rule of thumbs at the end of this video that apply to all cards, but specifically for those. It's going to be the important ones, and I also recommend to you, if you have not done it, watch our beginner's guide. That's where we kind of go over some of the general rulings in the first place, so you kind of have a basic knowledge and understanding of how card collection management works out once you start getting those cards and those legends, and what to look for, what to dust, what to keep, and when to do so. So there's a little bit of math behind that. Go watch the beginner's guide. If you have any questions, you can ask us, obviously, in the comments. And you can go join our Discord server. Link is in the description. We have a great community, so people will gladly help you out. That being said, another disclaimer is, last time we did this, we got some backlash from people thinking we are too aggressive. So disclaimer, I, JJ not so much, but me, like to follow and also advertise an aggressive dusting strategy. And what does that mean? It means that I dust more cards than other people. And other people like to be on the careful side. Other people are collectors, maybe. They don't like to dust cards at all. I look at it in a very pragmatic sense. I want cards I can play, that are good, and that makes sense for me to have in my collection. Cards that I do not play, I don't expect to ever play, I just don't want to play or will never play, I dust. Because with that dust, I can make better cards. We're going to divide these cards into 5 categories. JJ's here, by the way. How are you doing, JJ?
I'm doing fine.
Okay, that was necessary. We're going to divide these into 5 categories like we did last time. Definitely keep, probably keep, make up your own mind, probably dust, and definitely dust. Dust meaning disenchant, by the way. So we're going to start off with the Druid class. We're going to go through all classes, and then we're going to do the neutral cards. Today, just legends, and we're starting off with scenarios. The thing is with the classic legendaries that a lot of people will defend them to the last man, saying that they're always in the game, they're classic, you can never dust them. They were good once, they might be good again in 27 years. Okay, yeah, scenarios might be good in 27 years if the game is power crept down that much again, if some magical deck comes along and changes to the game are so drastic over such a long period of time. Maybe. But right now, and probably, very much likely, over the next few years, Scenarios is not that valid of a card. So yeah, this is a classic legendary. I'm gonna say probably dust this card. Not seeing play right now, hasn't seen serious valid play in almost 2 years now. Probably you want to dust Scenarios. Lucent Bark, a card that just came out with the Rise of Shadows expansion, I believe. He does function in a heal druid variety, of which I have not seen a lot. I'm gonna say probably dust as well. People who like to play this deck, you maybe already are, or you are currently looking to do that. Maybe you want to be careful with it. Think about this, but to me probably it's dust. Splintergraft has been around a while, and the Witchwood is going to rotate out next year, and so far has not been valid. You want to probably also dust this card. Gunk the Raptor. Fan favorite, unfortunately. Never worked out. You want to dust this card. Duskfallen Aviana is one of the historically worst cards in the game. I don't think anyone disagrees with me on that at all. Dust. Phlebinus Floop was good for a while. Isn't currently, has the potential to be. I'm going to say probably keep this card around for at least another expansion or two. And you can still always dust him when he rotates out, but there's a decent chance that he might be playable again. War Druid Lodi, very versatile. Hasn't seen as much play as I thought it would, but I'm gonna say you want to probably keep Lodi if you can afford to. If you don't need dust badly, you want to keep her because at some point it might be important. Keeper Stellatus is a keep right now for sure. I mean, it says in his name, so you want to definitely keep the keeper. He's a staple in one of the best decks in the meta right now, the Token Druid, and his effect is very strong, so definitely a keep. There's no need in dusting him. Floop's Glorious Gloop, the legendary spell for Druid, did a couple of things in an earlier variety of Token Druid a couple of expansions ago. Right now, not that good. I'm going to put this in the middle and say make up your own mind, because this is really hard to call. In a lot of, specifically Token Druid, but in a lot of those style of decks, there's a lot of competition, of inter-competition between certain cards. That's kind of what Cenarius falls victim to with other cards, just so much cards being better than him. And Floops, to a degree, that happened to as well because of its inconsistency. But if you are a heavy Token Druid player, or Druid player in general, you still have a couple of expansions to make this work. So then maybe keep it. But I'm going to leave that up to you. Next class we're going to look at is the Hunter. First we have Zul'jin, the hero card from Rastakhan's Rumble. You want to keep this card. Very, very powerful with replaying all your spells. Currently in several decks, it's a keep. Emeris, powerful effect, sometimes pretty good and can win you games in Arena or off random drops. In Constructed, it does not work. If you have this card in your collection, you want to probably dust it. King Crush, I'm gonna say probably keep, but you can also put it in the middle category a little bit. I think it's proven itself often enough, and I believe that over the next 2 to 3 years we'll see another deck be decently valid where this card is being played. And if you're looking forward to that and you don't need dust badly, you want to probably keep this guy around. Flocked Boomzooka, kind of a different animal there. Now this card is being buffed soon. It's going to be made a little bit cheaper, a little bit better thereby, but I still don't think it's going to be good. It's been historically terrible. Never seen any sort of play, even when the circumstances to make this card work its best were in the game. It didn't see any play, so you can dust this card and really not look back. Boommaster Flark, the inventor of the Boomzooka, apparently. I'm going to say make up your mind on this. Currently there's a pretty good mech hunter in the game that doesn't have to, but it can run the Boommaster Flark, and there's some certain synergies that go with running him. Other than that, that's the first time he's really been valid. If you're currently interested in playing that, or will be in the near future, you want to maybe keep him around. If not, then you might as well get rid of him. Marisa Windrunner, very new card obviously, it's always tough to judge those, but so far, Spell Damage Hunter seems so counterintuitive, and there's really not enough to it. Now that might be because a lot of other hunters are very, very strong. Gonna say make up your mind on it, and I'm being careful with this one. I could easily put this in the probably dust category, because it hasn't shown anything. Make up your own mind. If you want to really try and make this work, I know JJ still has his copy, and it's a golden copy too. Is that correct?
Yes.
So maybe he'll still at some point might try to make it work, but I believe that he, like most others, will come to the.
Some people run it with rapid shots in the Secret Hunter, but it's a bit of an edge case.
I believe that most people will come to the realization that it's probably not worth it. Oblivia Tron, a card that's been shit on a lot when it came out, when it was revealed. Like, people call it the worst Rise of Shadows legend and all that. Doesn't really seem to be the case, because the current mech hunter can make use of it. I'm not sure how that's going to work in the future, but there's a good sign, so I'm going to say probably keep this card around. You got Mechanical Whelp, which is great value, and some other mechs. You got, even if it's just a Spider Bomb, destroy an enemy minion. Pretty good value, and if the current mech hunter, which is an aggressive deck by the way, makes this work, why shouldn't it be possible in future iterations of this deck and future expansions? I'm gonna say keep it around, and if it turns out to suck later, you can still get rid of it. Halazi the Lynx seems like a nice idea, but Hunter currently is not going the direction of small minions at all. I want to say you want to probably dust Halazi, because arguably at its strongest was when the quest, the Angora quest, was still in the game, in the standard game, because that synergizes with all the 1/1s. And right now, nothing much does. No mid-range hunter I've seen currently runs Halazi, so there's not a lot of hope for it to be very strong. Of course, there's potential there, because hunter can always go back to the small minions, maybe synergizing with one cost or one attack minions, because done it before. I wouldn't bet on it though, so probably dust. And Houndmaster Shaw is historically very strong. You want to keep this card, and I'm willing to guarantee that before Dort hits out next April, this card is going to be a staple in a staple meta deck. Mage is the next class we're gonna be having a look at. We got Caligos, the new card, the new dragon. You're gonna keep this card around, whether you like it or not, because it's been performing pretty well so far. There is a Mage deck that runs it. It's more often than not ran in the Khadgar Mage, just because of its great finishing potential. In a lot of cases, it's just a Pyroblast with a body, which is, dare I say, terrible, but it's very, very strong if you do play Mage. And even if it's just a Fireball or a Flame Strike, even the Flame Strike, this card has a lot of upsides, so you want to keep that around. On the other hand, now Hexlord Malakras is very, very bad, and you want to dust this card for sure. Two very polarizing cards. Malakras just doesn't do what you want, because in the late game, when you play Malakras, you don't want a copy of your early game. That's that simple. And has synergy with itself. Luna's Pocket Galaxy. Not a lot of play, also one of the cards that is going to be buffed. It's going to go up to 5 mana, and that's my reason for saying make up your mind. If that wasn't the case, I'd say dust. But right now, people, if you have it, they might want to experiment with it. They might want to see if now it's actually worth running it in a big minion-heavy mage like the Khadgar Mage. You could try. You can for sure try, and I think a lot of people are going to tack a Pocket Galaxy into their Khadgar Mage and see what it does. Obviously, it's a spell, which doesn't really work with the deck that well, but it's a very, very good spell. So, at least maybe give it a try if you're interested in playing Mage at some point, but if not, you can always dust it later. Antonidas is probably a keep. He just shows up too much for you to really say I'm going to dust him. I don't like the card personally, but that's me. Not because he's bad, but because he's good. So you want to probably keep him if you're planning to play Mage. His effect is pretty timeless, and because of course like Sorcerer's Apprentice and a lot of small spells are also in Classic, the combination is always going to be somewhat valid. Jan'alai the Dragon Hawk has profited a lot of Baku when Odd Mage was still in the game. Right now, not being played, I'm going to say probably keep him anyway because the effect is very, very strong. You also have Khadgar in the game. You can never forget that. That's a combo for 9 mana. So your Jan'alai can summon 2 Ragnarai if you play with the Khadgar. And I believe somehow, some way that combination is going to be made to work. Again, as long as those cards are together in standard format. So probably keep him around for a while. Toki Time Taker now you can probably dust. Actually, I'm going to change it. You can definitely dust Toki Time Tinker. The effect is too random. It's too bad. It's fun. Yeah, I can see that. But valid? Not really. There's never a deck that relies on Toki, that needs Toki. You can play Weaponized Pinata and be fine. And probably have a decently equal pool in terms of expected quality there. Toki not worth keeping. Stargaze Luna probably worth keeping. Has seen a lot of play in tempo decks. With a lot of small cards that need draw, so probably keep that around. Arugal, nope. You gotta probably dust this to be honest to yourself with your dusting household there, because this card doesn't do the work that it should be doing for the cost that it has, or for the potential reward that you get for dusting it. Probably gotta get rid of it. Khadgar now for sure you want to keep. Right now he's in the meta deck, he's making stuff happen, and I guarantee you that Khadgar, just like Houndmaster Shaw in the previous one, is going to be wreaking a lot of havoc on the meta. In expansions and years to come, he's fresh into the game. One of the better cards to have right now. He's going to be doing big things in the future. Paladin is the next one with the most expensive card in the game, Shrivel the Tiger, which is ironically usually the cheapest card when it's played. But Shrivel the Tiger is a keep. Very versatile. This card spells versatility. You gotta have the right deck for it, but right now there's a kind of fringish tier 2, tier 3 combo deck with it, and even if Control Paladin ever becomes a thing, Shrivel is going to be a surefire inclusion in that because of the value that it just adds to your game. You have Nozari. Now this, you can probably dust. It's relatively new, but the effect for 10 mana for a 4/12 dragon is not good enough. It's just too equal. There's better cards to play. There's a lot of better big dragons, better control cards to play. Nozari you gotta get rid of. Tyrion Fordring is one of those cards, by the way. He's one of the iconic cards in Hearthstone, and rightfully so because he's really, really good. He's transcendental throughout expansions. Definitely keep. Kangor's Endless Army has always been a very interesting card, super high potential. The issue being that usually you get too many small mechs to die in a mech-centric Paladin deck. You get your Mecharoos and your Glowtrons, and you don't stack enough to each other in the early game. It's just not feasible. So Kangor's Endless Army, oftentimes it's just not gonna yield the value you're expecting. Too inconsistent, probably does. Prince Liam was a fringe tech card in the odd Paladin days. Those are no longer around. And all one-cost minions, or one-cost cards in your deck, doesn't happen that much anymore. Prince Liam is probably dust, not worth its maintenance cost. The Glass Knight. I'm gonna say make up your mind on this one. I personally would tend to keeping this because I've seen it work a bunch, but it has to have the correct environment. Now it has sort of a low ceiling for a legend, but also a pretty high floor. So it can be a good card, good consistent card. It's a good drop, if nothing else, a decent drop. Slightly understated, but it's fine. With the positive effect that in some decks can make a difference and allow it to be included, providing the correct value. Commander Risa, we have seen nothing of. It's a vanilla drop, if nothing else. Secrets triggering twice. Secret Paladin. Not really. Paladin secrets aren't the amount of value that you would want as a justification to run legendary cards. In Hunter, Mage, maybe cards like that will be more feasible. Right here, I'm gonna say probably dust this. You can keep it around if you want to play around with it, but I estimate the chances of this being very, very good rather low. And High Priest Thekel, I'm gonna say you probably want to keep this. The effect is very strong. You have Shrivel around for the same amount of time. You have Nozari if you want to keep Nozari, but you have healing in Paladin, and Thekel will be at least a worthy candidate in every slower control-ish or heal synergy Paladin in the future till the road heads out, so you want to keep it along with Crystal Smith Kangor as well, because that all ties together into the same deck. And Kangor is a vital key piece in those sort of ideas, which isn't the best deck right now. Paladin generally not being the best class right now, but that's kind of to be expected. That's how the meta shifts around. Those cards I would want to have the foresight of keeping if I have them, at least for a bit, to see if in the near future, the reasonable future, they turn out to be playable. Priest is next, starting off with Xerix Cloning Gallery. Kind of dropped off the face of the earth after the last rotation. Used to be played with the Malagos, with the Vellum. All of those cards on the Mind Blast are still in the game, by the way. The Foundation doesn't seem to be doing it. I'm gonna say make up your own mind. If you're in the camp that has hope for this to return one day in glorious fashion, sure, keep it. If you're not, probably dust it and don't have too many headaches over having the card sit around your closet doing nothing. I personally would get rid of it at this point, but the choice is up to you. Katrina Muerte, because of the good potential, I'm gonna say keep this around. This card has already seen some play in a certain Resurrect style Wall Priest, and you're always gonna have minions that are worth resurrecting, and Priest always historically has had opportunities to build decks around that. So Katrina Muerte, you want to keep around. Princess Talanji, bring on the hate. You want to dust Princess Talanji. I know it seems great. I know it would be so good to make it work. I know when it happens once in 10,000 times that you get her in Rogue, it's fantastic or whatever. No, it doesn't work. Just doesn't happen. Princess Talanji is not good enough. The effect is not something that would ever be in a constructed deck because it is too inconsistent. Not a legend that does the amount of value that you expect a legend to do when you put it in your deck consistently. Kind of the same note goes for Bonsandi as well. One cost card Priest, not really. Doesn't happen that much. Now the stats are fine, but I need something. I need even a tier 3, tier 4 deck. Even a 45% plus win rate consistency deck with either of those cards, or the idea of those cards combined, to make any sort of way for me to believe in this card or Princess Talanji. I'm gonna say dust for both. Prophet Vellum is a keep all the way, one of the best cards historically in Hearthstone. Always gonna see play. Maybe there's gonna be a full year or a half year where he doesn't, but you best believe he will once again. Lady in White is sort of like Princess Talanji to most people, but it's to me. When Lady White came out with the Witchwood, I thought this card is gonna be good. I can make this work. And to this day, not all hope has abandoned me to make Lady White work, but most of it has. So I'm gonna say probably dust this, and it's actually not a very good card. I thought a lot of stuff can be made happen with this. It's too inconsistent. Probably gotta get rid of it. Zarek, the Master Clone, are kind of the same token. Probably dust. Not value enough, not consistent enough. You can build a deck around it, but there's really no apparent win condition there. So Zarek doesn't have a justification to be in decks. Madame Lazul, I thought could be better than it so far has turned out to be. Now Priest, granted, doesn't do a lot of things, and we have really not seen any sort of control Priest since Madame Lazul was introduced into the game. Gotta say, make up your own mind. If you want to still gamble on the fact that she might be very good, and she might. I granted, she could be very, very good if a sort of control Priest emerges again. You've seen cards like Curious Glimmerroot being played, and Lyra the Sunshard, sort of value cards, intel cards, and Madame Azul certainly is a good early drop in decks like that. So you can take a chance on that for sure. If you're not a believer, if you need quicker dust because you want to play some budget decks right now, don't feel too bad about dusting this one. And Chameleos is absolute dust. This card is terrible, terrible, terrible. People thought it might be fine. It's not. It's bad. Get the 400 dust and never look back. I get to talk about Captain Hook Tusk again, and I distinctly remember every person on the face of the earth telling me that I'm crazy about Captain Hook Tusk, saying that you should probably dust her last time we did this, because obviously she's gonna be a staple in a very good tempo rogue this expansion rotation. Sorry for sounding condescending. I'm not trying to say I was right, but I was kind of right. Now, still, granted, this card might still at some point be played, but since its release, to this day, no one needs Captain Hook Tusk. No one has needed Captain Hook Tusk, and so my verdict on Captain Hook Tusk has not changed. I thought I was gonna put it a category up, say make up your own mind. To me, probably still dust. I know people like the effect. I know people like what it can do. I need to see something. It's kind of show don't tell at this point. I gotta see something. Haven't seen it. To me, this card doesn't belong in any budget players or dust economy efficient players collection right now. Get it out of here. But don't hate me for it. If you want to keep it, you're fine to do that. Test Greymane. Sort of the same effect, but people sort of have given up on it for the most part. It's not good. You can dust this card. People thought it might be Chutterwalk. People thought it might be Yoxeron. Good Yoxeron back in the day. It's not. There's ideas of tempo-ish or control-ish rogues that run the thief mechanic, and Tess is just excluded more than she's included, which tells me that she never will be. You can dust that safely. Tak Noswhisker is an interesting one. I'm gonna say probably keep him around. Now, so far, mostly been tried with Pogo Hoppers. Haven't seen him tried with Academic Espionage a lot. Probably because Rogue hasn't been playing Control so far at all since Rise of Shadows came out. And granted, it's not the class laid out to do that. But Tak definitely has a very, very interesting effect that gives him great potential. I'm gonna wait with pulling the trigger on him for another 1 or 2 expansions and see if they're not going to print any support for him, because it's potentially a card that can explode with a crazy combo, but we're going to see. Heist Baron Togwaggle is a keep. This is one of the best cards in Rise of Shadows, one of the strongest effects. You can choose a treasure and you can do it multiple times with the bouncing. You have the lackeys to do so. Lack of generation is easy. Heist Baron Togwaggle, very, very good in most rogue decks at this point. Myra's Unstable Element, I'm going to also say probably keep, because most tempo rogues have been running it in large parts. Because draw, specifically for that last push in rogue, can be very, very valuable. So Myra's is a decent keep until it rotates out. I'd probably keep it around. Now Growl the Shark, not so much. People had the ideas with the darkness is now gone. Rogue doesn't do big minions that much, and if they do much more smaller minions, and Growl the Shark just isn't going to live up to its value. You can dust this card more or less safely. I'm going to say just get rid of it. Myra Rodspring, I'm going to say probably dust. Death Rattle Rogue was probably at its strongest during the Boomsday days. And it never went anywhere. And I don't think it will unless crazy stuff gets printed, which is possible, but very, very unlikely. And I'd rather take the dust and keep Myra around any longer at this point. Edwin Van Cleef is an absolute keep. Most definitely, no debate about it. Very, very strong. In almost any meta, sometimes he's not seen for a couple of months, but he will be back. And he is in Classics, so one of the most valuable cards in the game. You definitely keep him around. Face Collector, you can get rid of him. He's out of here. He doesn't do anything. Would work with Tess. If Tess work, Tess doesn't work. And the Face Collector, random legendary minion, not good enough. Hasn't done enough. Other burgle strategies work better. Other thievery rogues, especially as an integration in other deck ideas, much better than as a self-supporting idea. As a whole thing, just burgle rogue, just thievery rogue, just doesn't have the punch. Doesn't do what it needs to be doing to get those win rates up. And Face Collector doesn't have a place in the meta. Get rid of him. Next up, we have Shaman, starting with Shutterwalk, one of my favorite cards of all time. Got nerfed hard with this by proxy with the Serenite Chain Gang. Still probably a keep because of the craziness that it has demonstrated. Now this, as opposed to Tess, works out because the battle cries you have very much specifically aimed. You know exactly what's going to be going down. Shutterwalk's going to find ways to sneak in deck ideas. And if you ever play Wild, like if you ever plan to play Wild, Shutterwalk is an absolute keep. Just because the crazy full combo is still possible in Wild. With the Grumble, with your Doppelgangsters, your Life Drinkers, and so on and so on. Shutterwalk is not only a fun card, but also pretty good when you want to keep him. Hagath the Witch is also definitely a keep, one of the stronger control tools. Ever since the Death Knight Heroes rotated out with the Knights of the Frozen Throne, cards like Hagath and Dr. Boom, who were good before, have kind of claimed the elite of control cards, because they now provide unmatched value, where before Deathstalker Rexar and cards like Bloody Gul'dan at some points, Anduin were just too strong, too powerful, pumping out that value, or that just that face aggressive potential. Cards like Hagath now are absolutely up there, and a lot of Shamans are going to be running this card. You want to keep it around. Alakir the Windlord, I'm going to say you want to probably keep it too. It appears too frequently, and it is a classic card for me to say get rid of it. You will never need him. You probably, if you play Hearthstone for the next 5 years, you probably will be in a situation, more than likely, where you're going to say, I could use Alakir at this point. And that to me is fair enough. Probably keep. The Stormbringer is one of the cards that is also going to be buffed with the new buffs that are coming up. Still, I don't believe in it. I've said it basically when it came out. I've said it last time we did the Dusting Guide. I'm going to say it again. Give me a situation where you play Stormbringer, where you would not rather have Bloodlust. I'm waiting. I'm not seeing it so far. And it's not going to be cheaper than Bloodlust. It's not going to be better than Bloodlust. It's a legendary card. Bloodlust is literally free. You get it. As about part of the basic set. Get rid of the Stormbringer. It doesn't do much. Swamp Queen Hagath, the card that came with Rise of Shadows. People have been hyped for this. I'm going to say you probably want to keep it. Even though it might not have performed up to where it was expected to go. Being one of the, I believe, 10 highest rated cards in terms of value. Control Shaman is still possible. You have cards like Hagath, Shutterwalk, Kragwa, and the Swamp Queen goes with that. Keep it around, it might still do big things for you. Kragwa the Frog, it's an amphibian, and it can be pretty good in certain decks. Has been played before. I'm going to say probably keep, to be on the side of caution there. Now if you're not going to touch Shaman with a 10-foot pole, this would be one of the cards that you might consider dusting, because you're probably just not gonna go that deep into playing Shaman. It's going to rotate out as well next year. But I'm going to say right now, I still have a Kragwa. I'm still holding a Kragwa. And I'm thinking that there might be a decent chance in 2019 still for Kragwa to be decently playable. Scargill, you definitely want to keep. Murloc Shaman has never been bad. It's always playable. And as long as Scargill is in the game, it's going to be considerably better just because of that. We actually have a budget Murloc Shaman on our channel right now. We believe it to be that good. It's our best Shaman budget deck this expansion, and Scargill is kind of what puts it over the top. Consistent positive win rates, easy keep, because it's a very beginner friendly, budget-y, sort of cheapish deck to get into. Scargill is the obvious upgrade to it. Electro Storm Surge, I'm going to also say probably keep it around. The effect's very strong. Again, with Bloodlust, it's very, very good. But also with other cards. Again, Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm can do the trick for you. Eureka, even to a degree. But yeah, Electro for sure, keep it around. We'll probably keep it around. Versatility. It's kind of the same idea with Kragwa, that if you never play Shaman, you don't necessarily need it. But I'd say keep it. You'll probably use it at some point. And Zen Teemo. This is one of the hardest cards for me to evaluate in the entire game, because the effect's good. The card was 5-star, it was supposed to be so strong. Yet, we haven't really seen much of it at all. You had the defensive options with playing Hex. You had offensive options. I'm gonna say, because I'm lazy, make up your own mind. It's a cop-out answer for sure, but I just can't tell you any better than flipping a coin if Zen Teemo will be great. Now, 50% chance you might regret dusting him, 50% chance you might be thinking, how the hell did I not dust him yet in a couple of months, years? Can't tell you. Make up your own mind on Zen Teemo. What's your own sentiment? This is the situation where you kind of trust your own instincts here. Lord Jaraxxus. I believe last time, if I'm not mistaken, I said probably dust. Got some heat for it. And this time I'm going to say make up your own mind. I still am not a big believer in him because 15 health? No. Like max 50? No, thank you. There's always going to be better stuff, I believe, in the future. You look at her farm, for example. But people like Jaraxxus. This is an iconic card. People like playing with it for fun. And it's possible niche inclusion in the Control Warlock, which isn't a thing at the moment. When it was, obviously, it was carried by Bloody River Gul'dan and the strong demons there. You can keep him around. Pray that it works in a couple of years. At some point, it might be valid. Again, I'm not seeing it. If we ever get a card like Amara to combo with this, like set your hero's health to a certain number again, that's much higher than this, sure, in Warlock. Let's do it. Unlikely. I don't love it, but make up your own mind there. Dr. Morgan is gonna be buffed with the new buffs that are coming up. Still probably not gonna be great. I'm gonna say though, hold your horses and just wait. I'm gonna put it in the middle category, make up your own mind. So I'll say probably keep for at least a couple of weeks, and after that make up your own mind, because I can't predict how it's gonna work out. It's gonna be a 6 mana, 5/5. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that means that even if it pulls just a 2/2, it's technically value. It's still, there's no crazy combos, by the way. People have theorized this with the knife jugglers and killing it off and doing infinite damage doesn't work that way. And with the 8/5/5, you need to pull something really, really big for it to be valuable. With the 6 mana, not so much. You can try it if you run like big Warlock or something. That's going to be a thing, Giant Lock. So that might be decent value. People might tech it in. I don't think it's ever going to be necessary in any deck. It's ever going to be huge or meta defining. But kind of hold your horses and see what the buffs do to it. Fellord Bertrug is absolutely god-awful. I don't believe in it. I'm going to just say dust. A lot of things have to happen for this card to be valid, and I'm not seeing it. I'd take the dust. Same goes for Hyreek the Bat, by the way. I'm not seeing it. I'll take the dust. You can invest your entire deck and your entire game into buffing your Hyreek to a decent size that could do lethal if it's stuck. But it's not gonna stick because most people have an answer or some sort of AOE. Just play a Nomi deck if you really want that sort of thing. You can play multiple times. Hyreek is not valid. Archsteve Farm, you gotta keep this card. For some reason, it's been very, very good in the Zoo Warlock, and the reason for that is that Zoo Warlock historically being a very aggressive deck and being completely laid out for that, just by having Rafam can turn into a late game value deck that gives it chances. Now, if it only wins a couple of the games that it would not win without Rafam, because of the late game value, because of getting good legends, and the regular deck, Zoo deck, is around 50% win rate. Now this card's gonna bump it up by a considerable bit, because the difference between a 51 and a 55% win rate in Hearthstone is so much. It's so important, because that's miles and miles ahead of what the more to the 50% it would be. So Rafam is valid right now. I think it's going to be in the future. You want to keep it. Lord Godfrey, I'm going to say probably keep. Obviously, this card is a control card and nothing else. It relies on control being a thing, control warlock being a thing. When control warlock was a thing, Godfrey was great. Now it is not. It still might be. If it's not, you dust it when it rotates. Or maybe the expansion before that, if you see that there's nothing's gonna happen with it. But right now I'll say probably keep it. Glinda, people have tried it with different varieties. There's a combination wild there with the mech warpers and then 2-turn kills, but other than that, hasn't performed, hasn't done much. I ran an Echo deck, I believe was briefly, very, very briefly during the Boomsday days. A tier 3, tier 4 sort of deck. I ran the Dolemaster Dorian as well, but never anywhere competitive. Probably get rid of Glinda. High Priestess Jeklik, you can probably disenchant this as well, because discarding is really not a thing anymore for the most part. Since the quest was gone, that was kind of the one incentive to discard stuff. They tried it with the Rastakhan's expansion, maybe at some point making discard work. Introducing Jeklik, among others, along with the quest, that was the high point for discard warlock. It's probably never going to be stronger than that. And in that case, if that's the truth, Jeklik probably needs to go. And the Solarium, I'm going to say you're going to keep this card. In Zoo World, this is going to be ran until the day that it rotates. Drawing 3 for 1, specifically small stuff that most likely you're going to be playing at least 2 of, and you're not caring too much about fatigue in a very, very early drop heavy aggro deck. That's unbeatable in terms of value. You want to keep the Solarium. And last but not least, to close out the Hearthstone classes, Warrior, starting off with the Boom Reaver from the Rise of Shadows expansion. I have a bit of a tainted vision of this card because it's been very good for me, but never in Constructed. I always discovered of stuff in the control, the Bomb Warriors. The Boom Reaver itself, you don't really need to have it in your collection, is the thing. For 10 mana, there's better stuff to do. And I don't think it's going to see much play, to be frank with you. I'll say you probably want to dust this. You're going to be playing it a lot, but you're never going to be playing it in your deck. You're just going to get it randomly. And if you do, it's going to be fine and be okay in some turns, but never to the point where it justifies the deck slot. The Boom Ship, kind of the same thing, I believe. Sometimes you draft it on the Lysiana, but that's all. I've never seen it be played anywhere else. Gonna rotate next year. Not good enough for the most part. Warriors that could run it with the deck built around big minions and recruiting have not done it, making me believe they never will. Boom Ship is dust. Akali the Rhino, I'll say make up your mind on this. It's been very weak so far with great potential, which I do recognize. I'll say, pick your poison or make up your mind. If you want to take a chance on it, might become good at some point with some strengths to Rush Warrior, which there's a good chance that might go in the direction, because God knows they don't need to strengthen Control Warrior anymore. But Akali has chances for sure to become very strong, a very good value card with cards like Sweeping Strikes that have been introduced. A couple more supports for cards like Akali, and there might be a deck there. Grom Michelle Scream, gonna say probably keep this around. It's a classic card, always shows up here and there. It's been in Recruit. Sometimes it's in the aggressive, the aggro / rush-ish warriors. I don't know, JJ can tell me this, I don't know that, but when Pirate Warrior was a thing back then, the aggressive Pirate Warrior, was Gromish played in that deck at all?
I don't think so.
It's a possibility though, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely, especially if you can trigger it the turn you play it, there's 10 damage right there. Yeah. If you do it with Cruel Taskmaster, it's 12.
Exactly, so I'm gonna say, for the versatility, it's been played enough. Most of the classic legendaries, you've probably noticed this during this video, I always say keep. At least the class ones that I've seen so far. A couple of ones aren't, in my opinion, no longer good enough. It's definitely a bonus for it to be the classic one, because it doesn't rotate out. The ones that rotate out, inherently have less value to them, because when they rotate out, they're not standard anymore. Grom, err instead of caution, probably keep it around. You might use it at some point. Dr. Boom Mad Genius is a definite keep. It's one of the best cards, kind of like Hagath in the game right now, one of the best control tools, and single-handedly making a deck work right now. Black Hole Gunspire is dust. I like the idea. There was a crazy idea with a Commanding Shout and Wild Pyros and weird things, and I believe Explorer Gore was involved. I'm not sure. Sort of for an OTK idea. Didn't happen. Sudden Genesis too. It was a weird idea. It was like 14% win rate. People tried it on stream. It was a meme deck. Nothing else. This card is dust. No one keeping it around. Blastmaster Boom is a keep. One of the better cards in Rise of Shadows. It's better than the original Dr. Boom. And JJ, again, I'm going to ask you this as a Hearthstone historian who's lived through it yourself. When Dr. Boom, like the original Dr. Boom, came out, was he good?
Every deck that got to turn 7 basically played him.
Every single deck. So he was like the card.
Now this one, of course, requires you to have some variety of bombs in your deck. But once you have one bomb in the opponent's deck, it's as good as the original Dr. Boom.
Yeah. And most of the time you'll have more than that. Which means that this card is still insane. And by the way, all those bots can have rush with the other Dr. Boom now.
Yes.
So yeah, keep the Blastmaster. Bomb Warrior is very strong. Darius Crowley is also definitely a keep. One of the best cards from the Witch with the face, the poster child of the rush mechanic. Can go absolutely crazy in both aggressive and control strategies. Can shut down entire game plans. And is one of those cards that draw immediate attention from the opponent. You get a handful of cards in the game that your opponent will have to drop everything they're doing to stop that specific card. Darius Crowley is one of them. And you definitely keep it around. And then we have War Master Voon, to kind of a disappointing conclusion to this video because this card isn't very good. You probably want to dust it. Because Dragon Control Warrior just hasn't lived up to what the Mech Control Warrior, the Boom or Bomb Idea Control Warriors, even with the Rush mechanics, have done so far. Now there is an idea of playing Dragon Control Warrior, and when Dragon Control Warrior was played, guess who didn't see play? Boon. So, if that's the case, he might not. There's obviously not gonna be an aggressive Dragon Warrior anytime soon, or ever for that matter. So Voon, probably not good enough to keep around or justify keeping him around. I'd say probably dust. So that's all the class cards, the class legendaries that we've been looking at today. The next video in this series is going to be neutral legendaries. We're splitting this up into 2 videos just because it would have been a bit long, because I've kind of been talking about a couple of cards here and there, and we don't want to make you sit here for like an hour and a half watching one and the same video. Still, I'm open to criticism or more friendly criticism. Keep it informative. If it's constructive, makes sense, I'll definitely discuss. Like last time, I'm not claiming to be perfect here. There's probably a couple of cards that I overrate, probably a couple of cards that I underrate. So far, it hasn't happened too much, but I'm sure it will at some point. And I'm wrong on some stuff, but we'll see about that. Let me know what you think about this. Please drop a like on this video if this helped you out. We've gotten this requested a couple of times in our awesome Discord server and from other people around YouTube, and so we had to do this again. Next time it's going to be the Neutral Legends, and after that we're also going to be looking at epic cards. I assume we're also going to be going by classes and then the neutral cards, because there's a lot of epic cards in the game as well. So to not waste too much time with that, again, commons and rares, I'm going to just quickly mention that. Generally, we don't recommend dusting most of them. Look at the beginner's guide, because we talk about dusting strategy there. After that, if you don't understand what we mean by, for example, the need of dust, keeping extra copies for when you have a need of dust, not dusting immediately due to nerfs and balance updates that sometimes come around for maximizing value. What we mean when we talk about the golden cards and how they work differently and why they should be dusted. If you don't understand that, or maybe you will still want to talk to us anyway, have a look at the description. There's a link to our Discord. You can ask us any questions you want. We're always open to that. So we'll hope to see you there. Thank you for watching this one, and we'll see you in the next one, which is going to be the Neutral Legends. JJ.
That's it.
That's it.